I have been following Charlie Kirk for 10 years, since almost soon after he started TPUSA when he was a teenager. And I was following him as a critic or an opponent. I saw him as this kind of very hardworking, highly articulate, sort of like superhuman, ultra-conservative operative that the Israel lobby had basically hijacked, and they were using him to create the biggest Republican or conservative youth movement in history, TPUSA, and use it to advance Israel's program in the US alongside all of the kind of conservative social issues he wanted to push, and recruit the youth and train them and make sure that they stayed completely aligned with Benjamin Netanyahu's Israel. And these billionaire donors, they're American, but they're loyal to Israel primarily, and they actually don't care about issues like abortion or LGBTQ, or maybe some of them don't like mass immigration because they think immigrants might turn against Israel, but their issue is Israel, and Charlie Kirk was going to advance that for them, and in exchange he'd be built up as like the biggest conservative youth leader in history. So I was hearing about this before he was killed, that something through the grapevine. I mean, I grew up in Washington. I've been in the city, so people talk. And honestly, even though I'm more from the left, people from the Trump administration and around the Trump administration talk more to us than the Biden administration did. They talk more to alternative media. So I was hearing about the pressure that Charlie Kirk was under in the months before he was killed. This was not unfamiliar to me, and so I decided to go back to some sources that we had and ask what was for more details. One of the most fascinating stories I've witnessed in American politics, it could be the theme of a film or a documentary or a book. Charlie Kirk began coming under pressure from his own base. I would say, I actually forgot which year it was, but it was like 3 or 4 years ago, and it was called the Groyper Wars. And Charlie Kirk would do these TPUSA tours around the country, and young men would file in, and they would, you get to question Charlie Kirk and debate him, and they hit him from an angle he never expected. They were from this organization called the Groypers, which sort of follows Nick Fuentes. They're anti-Israel. They're kind of anti-Jewish. Some people call them white nationalists, whatever you want to call them. They're very anti-Israel, and they believe they're the true voice of America first because the U.S. government has fallen under the control of this malign foreign power in Israel. And so Charlie Kirk would just shut down the conversation because he knew that if he would give an inch to them, it would threaten the relationship with his donors, and TPUSA would collapse. Now, after October 7th, the pressure was just too extreme. The whole grassroots of the conservative movement, everyone under 35, started to question the U.S.-Israel relationship because they wanted to be America first, and they saw Netanyahu just leading Trump around by the balls. They saw Miriam Adelson, this Israeli intelligence asset billionaire, just calling shots inside the White House, and a lot of them are pro-life and were horrified by the slaughter of babies that they saw in Gaza. So the bottom dropped out of right-wing youth support for Israel to the point where now only about 25% of Republicans under 35 support Israel over Palestine. So Charlie Kirk has to answer to his own grassroots base, and you can hear he's starting to make some noises. He's talking about October 7th possibly being an inside job. Israel let it happen in order to carry out long-term political goals. He starts to question whether Jeffrey Epstein was an Israeli Mossad agent at a time when the Epstein files were becoming an uncomfortable issue for Trump. And it all blew out into the open at TPUSA's July Youth Summit. He was a gigantic threat to Israeli control over the Republican Party, maybe the biggest threat since Trump has proven so easy to move and manipulate and so afraid.